Hello, everybody. Randy, myscreenkit.net, kingofsolarscreens.com, coming to you live on a Sunday afternoon. Woo! And it's a pretty Sunday afternoon. You'll have to forgive me today because my cameraman, or I should say my camera bride, is up there in that there red dirt Oklahoma state this here weekend visiting her family and stuff. And of course, our daughters and our grandkids. Oh, baby. Hey, guys. So I'm going to have to do this by myself. But I had a request. California, Los Angeles, of all places, LA, my goodness. Do tell me if you're, to the gentleman, I can't remember his name, who asked me to make this video for him today. Do tell me if you're doing any famous celebrities' houses, solar screens. That'd be really cool. Get them to talk about the solar screens. Tell them the My Screen Kit guy in Houston taught you. But this is for you, and of course for everyone else. What I was asked to do is start from the beginning to the end for a half moon arched solar screen. One of my favorites, and honestly one of the easiest to build. Now, what we purposely do, let me get this up here, we notch our corner with a bandsaw. Some companies still try to miter this, and I have a plastic miter corner in front of me. But what tends to happen, and actually I'm going to stick that behind, is you see how that corner comes out because of the arch, and it's just too difficult, because it seems to me you have to trim that corner, or at least that excess off, because this is a perfect 45, obviously designed for 45 or normal windows. So when you set that up in there, it bulges out the side, and it seems to me it's just too much trouble. So we do all this by notching. Now, this is the side I like to expose when I install the window. And because of that, I do not place a rivet here. Any number of my videos you've heard me talk about, and I'm going to reach over here and grab a rivet. We got to face it. I mean, for 10 cents, these rivets are cheap. But they work. They're effective. They stay where they need to be, but they're cheap. So after 4, 5, 6 years, they begin to rust. The color comes off, and it's just a very unattractive look, in my opinion. And I want my house to look sexy all the time. And if I have rust running down, or even parts and pieces that are rotting, I don't want that on my house, and I know you don't. So what do? I'm going to flip this around. We do all of our rivets in the behind. But have no fear, if you're a customer, or even if you want to put a rivet on both sides, by all means do it. You will not hurt anything. It won't necessarily make it stronger, but at least you have 2 rivets. But again, that's the side effect to putting a rivet on the side that the weather is exposed to, or at least the side that the weather, or that it is exposed to the weather. So let's make ourselves a half moon. Now, this one here is 34 and 5/8. That's the base, with a 17 and 1/4 top. So what do I mean by that? When you're out measuring this style of window, you only need 2 measurements, left or right, dead center to the top. Again, 34 5/8, 17 1/4. The best part about these half moons, almost always, unless it is obviously not a half circle, almost always, whatever the width is, the height is about half, give or take, but almost identical to that. So if you're ever back at your shop and you're looking at a number that doesn't make sense, you probably measured or wrote down something wrong. Wouldn't hurt to run out. So I've already made this one. I'm going to set that down to the side. So here's my clean bar, 34 5/8. Yeah, 34 and 5/8. Of course, I just square my corners. There's no need to make any funny angles or anything, because this is a true half moon. So what I do then is I always double what I need for making that. Sorry, I'm learning how to do this by myself today. Where's my angel? She's up north. I always double the length. You can't go wrong. So at 34, you could make this a 68 length, but I always know that I can make it a 60. I get lucky. And plus, aluminum is not cheap. I mean, we're looking at 30, 40 cents a foot for roll-formed aluminum, depending on who you buy it from. First, if you're secondary, of course, to the market, maybe even higher than 40 or 50 cents. But so I always try to use as little aluminum as possible. That way I have a little waste. So let's have some fun. 34 and 5/8. I made this 60, which is could have been 68, like I said, but again, I saved a little bit of aluminum. So I hope I'm not hurting anybody by doing this by myself today. I'm going to throw that there, and I'm going to adjust my little thingy here a little bit. there's my roller. This is very common. It's a 3-wheel roller. It's a nice rigid plastic, nice steel body. I've actually had this since 2004. You've heard me preach about it before. I've tried other companies. Trash. This one here is from QualityScreens.com. They're out of the Dallas Irving area. I love it. I have never done anything except for once a year I take the wheels off just to clean them really good, re-lubricate inside, put them back together. This is like 21 years old now. I mean, well, 2004, just over 20 years. Okay, so what do I need now? Let's protect our spline line. So we get, when you buy your roller, and especially from Quality Screens, they're going to give you about 16 feet of this naturally with it. I've made these 4 foot, 6 foot, 8 foot, and then I keep an extra at a full 16 just in case I have a great big half moon arch or something to build. You never know. Some people have windows the size of Texas, and ironically, we're in Texas. So all I'm going to do is feed this in. The idea behind this is we do not want to crush our spline line. So obviously, we're going to want to put our spline and our material in this here in about 5 minutes. So I'm going to adjust my wheel. As you can hear, that's squeaky. It's getting on time to be the service. All right. Whoops. Pull that back out. I'm going to make that one more tighter. There we go. Okay. Now, when it comes to rolling, choose what feels right for you. But truly, 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 the best thing you can do for yourself, is do a half a turn at a time. Just like that. It's the best thing you can do to yourself. It may take an extra minute to make a half moon or a full circle or whatever style arch you're making, but you're not creating too much pressure on your aluminum. And so I would say you probably eliminate any kind of buckling or cracking or any odd look, if you will, in your aluminum. So you have a nice, smooth, clean half moon or any arch that you put up. So now I'm just going to fill in some time. I hope everyone's enjoying their day. It is a beautiful Sunday. Houston, I think it's about 82, 84 degrees today. It's beautiful. I was out in the garden earlier. I'm just killing time. So I was out in the garden earlier. I picked some beets, threw out some onions in it. So I'm going to have me some beet greens, some sliced up green onions for dinner. Oh, so I can do that when my beautiful bride's away because, we know onions give us the sweetest breath in town. And that way I don't have to worry about getting in there to brush my teeth quick enough to make out with my wife. Because, I can have bad breath. I don't know if that's a good reason to eat onions, but hey, I like onions. And when I was a small kid, I'm not sure why I thought this way, but I used to tell people I was allergic to onions. Don't put onions in anything. About the time I was about 12, I realized, holy moly, onions taste freaking good. All right, so I've done about 6 or 8 turns. I'm going to dry fit this to see if I have it right. Now I'm going to try to adjust this the best way I can, folks. There we go. Now I have my tape measure dead center on the bar. Actually, let me go ahead and lift that up there. So there you go. So there's my bar. I have it dead center, 34 5/8, and I know I'm coming up to 17 1/4. And you know what? I'm glad I stopped when I did, because that is money. Oh, I like that. 17 1/4, folks. I don't know if you can see that in that camera, but now from here, I'm going to grab my trusty Sharpie. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a straight line at the bottom, and then just a little tap, tap at the top. Do the same on this side. A little tap, tap at the top. Draw my line, and forgive me, I slid that over, but at least I know I still have my straight edge there. Put my cap back on that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spin this around. Here's my little cute bandsaw, folks. So I'm going to leave the camera on this side when I go over here to cut. But what we're going to do, grab my cord. The straight line, I'm going to chop that straight off. I'm just going to come inside where the spline line is, here, and then I'm going to slice it straight down. And what that will do is give me that openness so I can slide the 34 5/8 bottom right inside, place my rivet. So let's go ahead and try that out. Now, I know I broke a rule, and I know shop teacher, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I didn't put on my safety glasses. But one thing I can say about that bandsaw is it really never spits any aluminum at me. So I've never given it much thought anyway. But I usually have my safety glasses on, but I took them off in order to put this shirt on. I didn't want to scare everyone away and, you know, not have a shirt on today. So there we go. Let me get this camera back. So if I can find it, there it is. As you can see, all I did was just slid that in there nice and tight, nice and clean. Came over to this side, same thing, nice and clean, nice and beautiful. So now, and I hope I can create a good angle for this, folks. If I can't, forgive me. But now I'm just going to take my trusty drill bit, and I'm going to have to adjust that a little bit different because it's going to fall over, folks. I'm sorry. Feel like a newbie. That's it. So make sure you don't go all the way through. Otherwise, you're going to have a hole in your frame, and that'd look a little goofy. So, did my rivet. Here we go. Same thing on this side. And that is exactly, start to finish, cutting a half moon. Remember the general rule, if it's, say, 36 wide, it's almost always half of that for the height. That's almost always. And I do realize there's more of a teardrop archwork. I notice a lot of these newer homes have that. So that rule does change depending on the style of window. But when it comes to that half moon, you can almost guarantee that. Also, Mr. California, I wanted to show you this because I'm very proud. I try to keep things as clean and organized as possible. Let me grab that camera. So underneath this bench, I keep my crossbar pins, my rivets in all 4 colors, and just in case someone wants one of those there silly pull tabs, I have those as well. Oh, and of course underneath my bench, that's where I keep that gorgeous all-American made Twitchell, baby. Oh, I love that Twitchell. Whoops, sorry about that. That's what you get for drinking too much iced tea at lunchtime, huh? That's silly. So, how do we verify? Obviously, 17 1/4. Perfect. But I still always strongly urge you, if you don't have a bench that secures your frame, which it has like a steel plate basically that you can adjust. I know a lot of you screen guys have that. We did that 20 years ago, and it didn't take time for us to just throw that thing in the trash. And and we went for a flat bench where we just added a crossbar. So I'm going to add that dead center, and that's how I know I'm ready to roll it. Should I roll it with you guys as well? Okay. Now, this particular customer sent in a request for 5 of these. So, behind you here, I have 3 more that I have to put together. There they are. So, but I'm going to do that when we're done talking. That way I don't have to disturb you guys too much and get back to your Sunday routine. And this is 90% black. Where did I put it? Here's a piece. I'll just go ahead and use a piece. You know, we get a lot of screens that are, say, 28 wide. And of course, our material's 36, just standard 36, 48, 60, 72. And I urge my guys to save anything that's wider than 12 inches. And this is a perfect example because this was going to go out to the trash. I basically do a landfill, but instead, I'm getting ready to make it an arch. So I use a 110 hard spline. Makes it easier to roll. The rubbery spline or that real wiggly spline, excuse me, it tends to flip around when you're trying to install it down in the track line. And because of that, we just don't use it. Hard spline is what we use. Do suggest that from your supplier that that's what you want. 110 when we do 90, 115, excuse me, 115 hard spline when you're doing 90, 125 hard spline when you're doing 80. There's also a 135 spline that's hard, and then you jump over to the foams, which is typically used in insect screen, fiberglass, that kind of material. So hopefully you'll be able to find that. So I always do the bottom first, and again, I'm by myself, so I won't be able to put you over the top of me, but just trust that I'm sticking that right down, and I'm going to do the bottom first. And all I do is slide it down. Oh, that is smooth. I like that. Then I'm going to do a flippy. Turn that half moon portion back at me. And I know someone, you probably see these creases where we had it folded on the chair. Have no fear. The sun is kind of like an iron when our clothes are wrinkly. Give that one day in the sunshine, and I promise those wrinkles are gone. Now, when I'm doing this, I always start to my left because I'm a righty. And of course, for you lefties, you'll probably want to start on your right. But because I'm a righty, I always start on my left. I'm going to adjust that because I notice it gets dark a lot from the exterior sunshine. It's beautiful out here today. I'm sure it's beautiful everywhere. My wife called me a little bit ago before we came out on the video. She was driving through the Arbuckles, which they call them the Arbuckle Mountains, but they're more like Arbuckle Hills. Especially for you folks out on the West Coast or Colorado or wherever, the Carolinas where you have a real big mountain. Yeah, that's a mountain. But she said it was 90 degrees up there. It's too early for that. It's what, the second week of April? Gosh, too early. So, what I've done there, you can see I spline that in. 100% wrinkle free. And then all I do now is trim with my trusty razor blade, the excess material. And I realize that's an art form to itself. I have some employees that are literally 1 inch a minute kind of guys when they cut this. Practice makes perfect, folks. The more you do it, the faster you'll be able to do it. It's just flawless. It's just easy. I love doing screens. This is my 20th year doing it. Actually, this began my 21st year. Believe it or not, of all places, I actually started doing this in Oklahoma. I lived there for a few years, and some rental houses I had, the tenants kept destroying all the bug screens. Every time I'd replace it, it's like $80 for a bug screen. I mean, I sell those things $40 here if I do the measure and install. But if you come over and bring me your measurements, I only charge $25. These guys want $60, $70, $80 depending on size. I'm like, you guys suck. I mean, you guys aren't no good. Sorry about that. And so I learned how to do it myself. And then as time went on, I started finding suppliers. My first supplier, and I don't mind giving him a shout out because my name is Randy, and the guy up there was Randy, Metro Screen Works in Denver, Colorado. They were my very first supplier, and I loved them. They were always shipped me what I needed, but the problem was that shipping is expensive when you've got aluminum that's literally 16 feet in length. It has to go on those freight trucks, and I realized there's no real big money in that unless I find a supplier local. So I'm a direct supplier now. ScreenCo is my aluminum guy, and Twitchell, of course, is my material. I love it because ScreenCo is roll form, Dallas, Texas. Of course, Twitchell is the whole textile factory and everything is in Duluth, Alabama, which to my knowledge is on the north part of Alabama, and I have sent many requests to ask if I can come out and demo their factory and take a look at it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is your finished half moon. I love it. Nice, tight. Got my rivets in the back, just like I promised. Of course, there's just little markers. Sorry about that. But nobody will ever see that. And that's how we do it. Now, one thing I did want to show you is this particular company, because I do get the pleasure of building a lot of screens for a lot of different companies. One of the things he turned in was a couple of beautiful circles. Now, I don't get to make many of these anymore. I don't know if builders are getting away from circular windows or not, but I sure like making these because they're a challenge. Just taking that metal and just slowly bending it until all of a sudden you have a full circle. And this one in particular was 22 3/4, completely round. So this is so beautiful. I love making them, and much like I do with those half moons, as you can see here, I put the rivets in the back so that the front would be a nice, clean, beautiful clean. And I always suggest to anybody this cut where the two pieces came together to make one, point that down. And the reason is just in case, because we use screws, obviously the whole country uses screws to install these, just in case water gets inside or behind that screw, at least it will all drain out the bottom of this and not collect inside the frame. Although it is 100% aluminum, it won't rot. I don't know what it would do, but I know I don't want that built up on my house. So, but that's it. That's your half moon. Or, I mean, that's a full circle, but those are your half moons. And again, I'm building 5 for this fella, which I had the one I made for you guys there, the one I started with. I have 3 more to cut, assemble, and roll them up. Man, oh, I love what I do, baby. I think that was it. Any questions? California, give me a call. You know my email, kingofsolarscreens@gmail.com. Folks, if you have any questions about window screens, material, ideas, thoughts, if you've got an idea that you think should be out in front of everyone, tell me about it. I would love to. If it's anything that makes it easier or quicker for us in this industry to get this product from a raw state onto your windows, oh, I'd love to do it. Anything to make it quicker and easier. And of course, keeping those prices low. So kingofsolarscreens@gmail.com or anywhere else, myscreenkit.net. At the very bottom of that first page, there's a form that you can fill out, ask any questions you want. I can email it back to you. I would love to make a video. I love being out here. Sorry, this is the face I was given. In fact, many years ago when I was up in the state of Oklahoma, a gentleman named Al Hamilton, he was a DJ for probably 100 years. I'm sure he's gone on to be with the Lord by now. And if he hadn't, he's probably up in his 90s at least. But he told me I had a face for radio. And I thought, oh man, that's awesome. And it took me like a year to figure out, wait a minute, that was more of an insult than it was a, yeah. So, but either way, folks, thank you. Hi, don't mind my username. Oh, I like that. Hello, everybody. Wow, this is the first time somebody's actually reached out to me during one of these videos. Hi. I love it. Well, I won't say your name since you said never mind your username, but feel free to give me a shout out, an email, a question, even on this video if you have a question about window screens. And again, myscreenkit.net, I'm going to push that one more time. We're almost ready to launch where we will pre-cut your size instead of giving it to you as a flat kit, which you've heard me talk about in the past, like a 3050 window, 36 by 60 kit that you cut down the size, you know, whatever it could be, 34 and a half or something. We're just about ready to launch it. I'm hoping by the end of this month, maybe next month, folks, where you can actually type in your exact measurements. We'll cut it in our warehouse, box it up, well, tube it up, and then ship it direct to you. So all you have to do is reassemble it, roll it up, stick it on your house. Whether it's a bug screen or a solar screen or a pet screen, we got you covered. And of course, I'm still working on this, but I'm aiming and I'm praying. I've got my fingers crossed that by the fourth quarter, we will be the very first 100% American-owned window screen company that is tradable on the stock market. Oh, yeah! You talk about feeling good about myself. Oh, I love it. I like my shirt. You know, my wife and I, years ago, we were idiots. Well, I don't want to say we're idiots, but we were definitely out there. We went to the gym like 3 hours a day, every day. And she was always with me. In fact, and I don't want to take away from all your guys' day, but I used to put my wife on my shoulders, and I would do squats with her. And what was funny is we'd get into that particular rack. I don't remember the actual name of it, but it had the upper bar, so as I squatted down and I come back up, she would reach for that upper bar and do a pull-up. And then she'd come back down on my shoulders and I'd do a squat. And of course, my wife's like 105 pounds soaking wet, so she's very small. It was very easy to squat her. In fact, it's still very easy. But man, we were goofballs. As you can see, though, we you know, almost 50 now. We don't do the gym thing anymore, or at least not like we used to. But she's my baby, so I prayed for a good one. Well, gave me her. So, folks, sorry to keep you. Love you guys. I thank you guys for all your support. 20 years, oh baby. Anything I could do, you know my emails, kingofsolarscreens@gmail, myscreenkit.net, order form at the bottom. Give me a shout, folks. All right, this is always the fun part. How do I turn you off?